If you have a daughter and you're headed to Disneyland anytime soon, I highly recommend Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. So we first started by going to the actual boutique itself, which is located inside the castle at Disneyland. They directed us to the Enchanted Chamber, which is just right around the corner of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and we checked in right there at the front. And then they handed us this, which is the different packages you can look at while you're waiting for your fairy godmother. You can pause for pricing. Our first fairy godmother came out and called for Princess Finley, and we went inside to look at our different options.
So my name's Nick. I'm one of Fairy Godmother's apprentices. I'm here to shop you around and make all your selections for the day.
All right, so if I had a daughter, right, and it came about that, hey, I'm going to take you to Disneyland, kid, and do you want to go to Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique and get dressed up and become a princess for the day? And the little kid was like, yeah, Daddy, I like The Little Mermaid, or whatever little girls would say about, yeah, I want to be a princess. Okay, cool. If I took her to this Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo-Bah place, the last person that I would want greeting her and starting this like princess for a day process or whatever is this goofball Nick. And okay, so I've Googled Bibbidi Bobbidi or whatever, just kind of see some information about it. And I've seen headlines where people are like, oh, employee Nick, man in a dress, whatever, is the subject of vile abuse. And they're acting like Nick is this victim of like hate speech. And like the people who are like insulting him or criticizing what Disney did by hiring this person for this particular job. They're acting like, oh, this is hate speech. They're committing hate crimes, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, Nick is not trans. Nick is non-binary, gender non-conforming, like apparently just going by his mannerisms. Nick is a gay guy in a dress with makeup on and a mustache. And he's just doing that gender non-conforming thing, like that weirdo on Dr. Phil, the one with Matt Walsh on it, where it was this guy who had long hair, with makeup and a beard and mustache. And one of the things I hate so much about this gender ideology and the trans activism is how they've conflated non-binary and this issue of they, them pronouns and Caesar and all these stupid pronouns. They've conflated that with trans, when trans is not non-binary and it's not gender non-conforming in the way that, non-binary pushes it, where we can be both at the same time. If you have gender dysphoria, you think you're in the wrong body. The other body, especially with the trans women, because they're the ones who are being pushed down everybody's throat the most. So you're a man or you're male, you feel like you should have been female. So you do everything you can. That used to be how it is, to present as female. But now, with self-ID and with people who are taking advantage of self-ID, anybody can just say, oh, I'm a woman. And usually it's not the trans men who are really doing this. This is the so-called trans women, the criminals who say, actually, I'm a woman. And that's all they have to do. They don't have to get any kind of surgery, any kind of hormone replacement therapy, nothing. They can just say that and they get put in prison with women, that kind of thing. And somebody like Nick, they're acting like he's a victim when he brought this on himself. This non-binary, gender non-conforming stuff, this is a political act. This isn't somebody just living their best life or living their truth. This is somebody who's decided that I don't like society as it's been established. I don't like the rules for men. I don't like the rules for women. And then these are the people who say, gender is a social construct. And they just mean gender roles. I've said this before. You don't need to be trans or non-binary. And you don't need to play this game about, gender is separate from sex because gender is social construct. When all you're saying is that not all boys want to play with soldiers and not all girls want to wear pink. We know about tomboys. We know about mama boys and mama's boys and stuff like that. Like, we know that there are different types of people. But that doesn't make them the opposite sex or the opposite gender. So, most people don't have gender dysphoria anyway. So this push to make trans women the most important people in society is absurd. And, big tech goes along with it. The reason why it's still going on the way it is because YouTube protects people like Dylan Mulvaney, who's not trans, just a gay guy grifting on TikTok to get attention. Now, everybody knows, looking at Dylan Mulvaney, even before he came out as trans, he's just a flamboyant gay guy. And for him to say that he's a lesbian is, again, it's a part of his grift, and it's almost like somebody called him Borat. And that's essentially what he is. He's just playing this game. He's making a lot of money on it. He's, using him to promote Bud Light has pretty much destroyed Bud Light, at least up to a point. We'll see how far it goes. But this person, Nick, is not a victim. Nick chose to put on a dress, not actually transition, just be a man in a dress with a mustache and makeup, call himself Nick, but, be someone who's going to usher a little girl into this process of the little girl being a princess for the day. There's no way in hell that if I had a little daughter who I wanted to, go to Disneyland and do this bippity boppity boo-bah type thing, there's no way in hell I would let Nick be the first thing she sees. Now, as a kid, she probably wouldn't care either way. She might be a little confused, but she'll probably just have fun, and that's fine. Like the woman who posted the TikTok video with this guy didn't have a problem with it, apparently. And I think it's another of her video, and the little kid was cute in her little dress, whatever. But me, I take it seriously only in the sense that even though it's just big soulless corporation, but I take it seriously in the sense that this is my little daughter. I want her to have this princess experience. I don't want some weirdo guy, who looks like a 70s porn star being the first person she sees and leading her into this. I think other of the little fairy godmother helpers, take the little girl through it. Like, I think, I saw it was another woman, an actual woman who was giving the girl a makeover or whatever. I don't know. But for me, I'm like, no, get away from her. I didn't want to make a scene. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but I want somebody else to start this process. I don't want a guy with a mustache doing this gender non-conforming performative BS for my kid. All right. I don't want you around my kid. I don't want her thinking that some weird guy with a mustache coming up to her is someone who's going to help her be a little princess or whatever. It's like, no, stay away from her, weirdo. Because if I saw this person out in the street coming up to my little kid, I'd be like, no. So I don't know. And Disney's allowing this to happen. They push this. They bully the top execs to allow this to happen. And it's funny, Disney is losing their shirt on this SJW woke stuff. And they doubled and tripled down. It's like they're being held hostage by this mentality. It's weird. It's like they'd rather lose doing things the SJW way than just chilling and letting people, like normal, everyday, average people, just enjoy Disney the way it's always been. Like, there is no benefit from Disney with the woke stuff. Like, Little Mermaid being black isn't making my life better in any way. It's not entertaining. I'm not interested in the film. I don't look at Halle Bailey and be like, oh, wow, I can see myself in a black girl playing the Little Mermaid. I'm just more like, you're using us to antagonize white fans who you've labeled racist. Like, they're all racist to you. You want to take something away from them. That's the only reason why you're doing it. And again, with Nick isn't trans. Like, if I, came with my little daughter to this place, I want a woman, a young woman I want all young women working with her. Like, taking her around, giving her the makeover, picking out the dress. Don't want any guy doing it. I would even take a trans woman, like someone who looks like, Samantha Lux or Blair White or maybe even Kat Black to, like, greet her and take her along. Because at least she's presenting as a female and she's trans. Again, the person is trans, not gender non-conforming, where they're playing this game about, well, there's no difference between the sex. Because trans people know there's a difference, which is why they're transitioning. But the gender non-conforming stuff, the non-binary stuff has been glommed on to trans stuff. And so we have these sociopaths fighting their hardest for the very smallest amount of people who don't matter to the society at large. They could exist. They don't have to have any kind of utility to society. They can just exist and be people. But they're not contributing anything as far as, oh, this is the most important conversation that we have to have. Trans women have to be in women's sports so they can beat women, just so they can be included. As long as you're existing in society, great. You don't need to be in women's sports. You don't need to be validated to that degree. Like, your validation, your feelings are not more important than the actual reality of actual women in women's sports. And this thing that, oh, we need to abolish gender norms, that's not helping society either. Just seeing some goofball in a dress looking like a complete clown, I don't care. Like, I don't care if this person, like I said, this isn't like a trans woman who's doing their best to try to look and be seen as a woman. This is literally somebody who's making a political statement out of not wanting society to see a difference between man and woman. I don't care if this person is being mocked. They look stupid. Nick looks like a goofball. He looks like a joke. Now, I'm sure the person is lovely, and I know a lot of people were like, oh, Nick's nice and he's a lot of fun. Great. I don't think I don't know what Nick is like. I don't like the way Nick looks in the sense that he looks creepy and weird. And I don't want him coming up to my daughter and being like, hi, I'm going to take you and have you make dresses today. It's like, no, get away from her. Can I have a woman come here? And like I said, it could be Samantha Lux comes over. I'm like, all right, fine. Yes, fine. I'll take this. At least you are presenting as a woman, not some goofball in makeup with a mustache on, just saying, hi, I'm Nick. I mean, if Nick was just a gay guy without the dress, without the makeup, just standing there saying, hey, I'm one of the helpers, I don't think I would feel as bad. I still think I would rather a woman or a trans woman, definitely a woman first, on a really convincing trans woman to do it. Because to me, it's like a little rite of passage. Not all women go through this, or all little girls go through this, obviously, going to Disneyland. But if I'm somebody who's going to take my daughter to Disneyland and be princess for the day, I don't want some gender non-conforming goofball doing it, looking stupid, making a political statement, and using my daughter in this activity in Disney as like the platform to be like, I'm just abolishing gender norms. No, I want my daughter to be princessified by girls, by women, that's it. Not this gender trans activism stuff. Don't make my daughter's life a political statement for your absurd cause.
Let it go, let it go, you stupid bitch, let it go. Yeah, I sound like evil Elsa.